Good morning. The first item of business is general questions, and at question number 1, I call John Mason.
Thank you. To ask the Scottish Government what action it will take to prevent starvation and suffering among the sheep on St Kilda.
Cabinet Secretary Mary Goujon.
The soy sheep on St Kilda are considered an unmanaged population of wild animals due to their unique history of adapting to life without management over many generations. Now, this unique historical flock is protected by the Wild Mammals Protection Act 1996, the same protection which is afforded to Scotland's wild deer population. Meantime, the National Trust for Scotland are undertaking a full review of the situation, and we are engaging with them on that.
John Mason.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for the answer, but in the first place, these are clearly feral sheep. Sheep are not wild animals. These sheep were put on St Kilda by human beings in the 1930s. They are in a confined space. If these same sheep were in Perthshire or Angus in a confined space, they would not be considered wild. Will the Minister really look at this and consider them to be feral?
Cabinet Secretary.
I can only reiterate and outline the position that I've set out in my initial response. We've had a long-standing position on this as a government, and we're not intending to change that.
Christine Graham.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I have to say I very much support John Mason's case. In particular, it seems to be a case of out of sight, out of mind. After all, we put them there in the first place, left them there to their fate, and their fate is most unpleasant. So I'm pleased to hear NTS are reviewing the situation, and I do hope they'll make measures, take steps to ensure these are regarded as feral, not wild.
Cabinet Secretary.
Again, I appreciate the points that have been made by both Christine Graham and by John Mason as well. And I've set out our position quite clearly as a government in terms of how the soy sheep on St Kilda are regarded and the protections that are offered to them under the Wild Mammals Protection Act. And as Christine Graham has touched on, and as I said in my initial response, the National Trust for Scotland, as owners of St Kilda, have responsibility for the sheep inhabiting it. They are undertaking a full review at the moment, but we will, of course, engage with them and work closely with them on that.
Thank you. Question number 2, Emma Roddick.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what action it will take in light of the findings of the Ending Homelessness Together 2025 annual report.
Secretary Mary McCallan.
Presiding Officer, the annual report shows that more action is needed to end homelessness, but does demonstrate important progress and a significant step up in the last year. By September 25, 31,064 affordable homes had been completed towards our target. We had invested over £120 million in homelessness prevention and anti-poverty measures in 24-25, helping people remain in their homes. We introduced new homelessness prevention legislation, ensuring people get the support they need prior to presenting as homelessness and that crisis point. And of course, we published a housing emergency plan in September, which included a commitment to invest up to £4.9 billion in affordable homes in the coming 4 years.
Emma Roddick.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer, but Crisis, the homelessness charity, has noted that the current homelessness system is not sustainable, but there's a desire to do more preventative work across public sector bodies with responsibilities. The Cabinet Secretary previously described the prevention duties contained in the Housing Act as having the potential to be gold standard. So what commitment can she provide that this government will take the learnings from the pilots currently taking place in relation to the delivery of new duties to help implement the legislation as soon as possible and in the best way possible?
Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you. I am absolutely committed to ensuring that learning is taken from the pilots, a pilot process which is being supported by Advice Direct Scotland and which ranges right across health and justice sectors and to local authorities. This will inform the effective implementation of the duties, which is exactly what Emma Roddick is rightly calling for. To enable all of this, the pilots will report at quarterly intervals and at the end of this calendar year, and we are commissioning independent research to help estimate the impact of the duties on public bodies and others, and to help inform the drafting of the guidance in the secondary legislation, which will be absolutely critical. But these are gold standard. They have the potential to transform our approach to ending homelessness.
Megan Gallagher.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm afraid that this report exposes the SNP's continued failure to get a grip of Scotland's housing emergency. We know that there are record numbers of households remaining stuck in temporary accommodation, and the numbers of rough sleeping continues to rise. I hope the Cabinet Secretary shares my view that it is disgraceful that whilst we are in this chamber today, 10,000 children are growing up without the security of a permanent home. All the while, councils are left struggling under the savage cuts that the SNP government have made to council budgets. Prevention is key, but we also know that in order to end homelessness, we need to make sure that the supply of homes meets demand. So I've asked this question to the Cabinet Secretary before. I'm going to ask her again. If this government is hell-bent on dismantling the housing sector brick by brick, how does she believe that the government is going to reach their target of 110 affordable homes by 2032?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, Megan Gallagher's characterisation of the government's work or approach, and actually how we are viewed by many of the stakeholders with whom I work, is, as is quite often the case, misrepresented and incorrect. We are taking action across the board to make sure that whilst temporary accommodation is available as a vital safety net, let's not forget that most people in temporary accommodation throughout Scotland are in local authority properties, providing that safety net whilst they await a permanent home. I want to see the time that people spend in temporary accommodation be shorter, but nonetheless it's a vital safety net. But that's why we're taking action, all of which has been set out in our our Housing Emergency Action Plan, not least the continued delivery of affordable homes, but also some of that money that we're making available this year, £80 million for councils to go and buy homes now and make them available for families.
Thank you. Question number 3, Ros McCall.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to reported concerns from businesses across Scotland that have recently received letters confirming a revaluation of their non-domestic rates liability.
Minister Ivan McKee.
Draft rateable values for the 2026 revaluation were published on the 30th of November last year in advance of the revaluation, which will come into effect on 1st of April. Valuations are produced by assessors who are independent of central and local government. Non-domestic rates bills for 2026-27 will of course depend on the rateable value of the property, the tax rate that applies and any reliefs the property is in receipt of. Decisions on non-domestic rates policy for 26-27 are considered in the context of the budget in line with other government priorities and will be set out on the 13th of January.
Ros McCall.
Yes, I noticed that the Minister states that they're independent, but independence is not an excuse for indifference. And while assessors set the value, the Government can set guidance and policy. The licensed hospitality sector supports 65,000 jobs, pays £1.2 billion in wages and generates over £2 billion of economic value for Scotland. And with Stephen Montgomery from the Scottish Hospitality Group warning that current outdated methodology will hit local hospitality business, and with one of their members facing a 550% increase, still, the Minister refuses to use the powers at his disposal. So will the Minister today commit to making the changes needed to support our high streets? And if not, will he confirm how many empty shop fronts and lost jobs he's prepared to accept as a price of his inaction?
Minister.
Well, I'll have to say it's not unexpected, but hugely a misrepresentation of the situation by the member. The Government takes this issue very seriously. We engage extensively with the sector. I met with Stephen Montgomery and others in the hospitality sector on the 22nd of December. I met with the FSB on this issue just yesterday. We of course have our NDR consultative group that I met with in November, and we'll be pre-budget, and we'll be meeting again with immediately after the budget. And I met with other sectors as well on this issue. I'm very well aware of the situation with regards to individual bills that businesses have received. It's something that there is a process for working through with assessors, and I would urge businesses and sectors to continue, as many of them have, to engage with the assessors round about the process of revaluation. It's why we've set up the independent the group to look at the valuation methodology for the hospitality sector under BJ Gill KC that will report later this year. And of course the bills that businesses face are a consequence not just of the valuation, but also of course of the transition reliefs and other reliefs and rates set by the sector, and those of course will be announced in the budget.
Thank you, Minister. Let's keep our questions and responses concise. Willie Rennie.
So just to make this clear, East Neuk Orchards in my constituency, their rateable value has gone up from 9,000 to 22,000. They were below the small business bonus scheme level. They were paying nothing before. Now they're paying thousands and thousands of pounds, wiping out any profit. Does the Minister really understand the impact his decisions are making?
Minister.
Well, I've already indicated the process of valuation is carried out by the assessors and they operate independent of government. Government, as I've said, and myself are very aware of the impact that this is, the valuations that have been received by certain businesses have had. That's why we've had extensive engagement with businesses, with sectors and with the assessors. And as I've already said, the budget will outline what we are taking forward in terms of reliefs, transitional and otherwise, with regards to what the final bill for businesses will be. And of course, there is a process with the assessors that businesses should be engaged with in advance of the final valuation rule taking effect in April.
Thank you. Question number 4, Liz Smith.
To ask the Scottish Government what recent engagement it has had with Scottish Mountain Rescue teams regarding mountain safety this winter.
Minister Jenny Minto.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The Scottish Government are committed to supporting safety in the mountains to provide safe opportunities to enjoy the outdoors and reap the physical and mental health benefits of being active in nature. We continue to engage regularly with the Chair of Scottish Mountain Rescue and with the spokesperson of the 2 independent teams at Glencoe and Cairngorm about a range of issues affecting mountain rescue teams across Scotland. We are supportive of the Think Winter campaign, which encourages people to plan ahead and think about winter conditions before heading out on the hills, and provide an online resource with links to all the information needed for exceptional mountain adventures.
Liz Smith.
Can I thank the Minister for that response, but she will have seen the warnings from Welsh mountain rescue teams just before Christmas about the worrying increase in irresponsible behaviour in the mountains, placing unsustainable pressure on resources. And the Minister will also have seen the report from Cairngorm Mountain Rescue, who had to rescue 2 young men who had headed out to Ben Macdui in trainers and in joggers at night and in minus 15 degrees centigrade. Can I ask the Scottish Government what it is actually doing to address this irresponsible behaviour? Much of it championed on social media, but it is clear that the current strategy isn't working.
Minister.
I thank Liz Smith for her very important follow-up question, and would like to thank Ms Smith and others in the Chamber for the work that they've done to promote mountain safety in the #ThinkWinter campaign. I would also like to pass on my appreciation to mountain rescue teams across Scotland who have been playing such an important part through established partnership arrangements alongside other community sector organisations and statutory emergency response agencies assisting communities during the current severe weather. And I think Ms Smith raises a very important point. We need to recognise that what the conditions might be at ground level are not what they could be at summit or even on the way up. And the Scottish Government are very supportive of the proposed Mountain Safety Action Plan, and my colleague, the Minister for Drugs and Alcohol Policy and Sport, recently met with Mountaineering Scotland to discuss the overall mountain safety. Discussions included the current work being undertaken on the creation of the Mountain Safety Action Plan.
Question number 5, Kenneth Gibson.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government when it last discussed the purchase of Ardrossan Harbour with Caledonian Maritime Assets Limited.
Cabinet Secretary Fiona Hislop.
I met with Kevin Hobbs, Chief Executive of CMAL, earlier today, and he updated me on Ardrossan negotiations. As the First Minister noted, over the festive period, discussions are now at an advanced stage. I can now inform Parliament that CMAL and Peel Ports have now indeed concluded negotiations on the draft heads of terms and are moving to the detail of the potential purchase agreement. Scottish Government are progressing the required review of legal, commercial and subsidy considerations based on the draft heads of terms, which are currently non-binding. This remains a complex and commercially sensitive matter, and our focus remains on achieving purchase, a clean title and final sale and asset transfer. I will continue to keep this Parliament updated on progress at appropriate stages.
Kenneth Gibson.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that response, although heads of terms have been discussed months ago, as I understand. And as the months drag on with no purchase date in sight, can the Cabinet Secretary advise Ardrossan and Arran residents if a deadline has been set for concluding negotiations? Meanwhile, CalMac has had to cancel numerous sailings due to Ardrossan Harbour's navigation lights frequently being out of operation in recent months. As this is clearly the responsibility of Peel Ports Group, what steps are being taken to ensure they fulfil their obligations to ensure the harbour functions normally?
Cabinet Secretary.
So concluding negotiations on heads of terms is a significant point in the sale process. It has many parts to it. As I've noted, both parties are continuing to work closely to conclude the purchase as soon as practical. It is noted, however, that to try and unlock investment, we are having to buy back essential infrastructure which was privatised by previous Conservative governments. In regards to the port infrastructure at Ardrossan, it is still the responsibility of Peel Ports as Statutory Harbour Authority to ensure the harbour is fit for purpose, to maintain and upgrade the infrastructure as required. It is important that any live and current operational issues are addressed by both parties, currently CalMac and Peel Ports Group, to resolve them to ensure minimal impact for disruption to the service and the island communities. And importantly, on proposed sale completion, CMAL have already given consideration to immediate works that could be undertaken to further ensure the resilient and safe operation of the port before the long-term works are procured, helping ensure the continued and reliable operation of MV Caledonian Isles from Ardrossan in the interim period.
Question number 6, Pauline McNeill.
To ask the Scottish Government what its position is on the Centre for Social Justice Lost Boys campaign, which aims to raise awareness of the issues that boys and young men are facing, including in Scotland.
Minister Colcap-Stewart.
The Centre for Social Justice Lost Boys campaign and report highlight the multifaceted, complex societal issues facing young men and boys. Whilst the evidence base used in the report predominantly relies on data sources from elsewhere in the UK, the issues raised in the report are also familiar here in Scotland. Now, there is no single action or responsibility which will magically fix these matters. It is necessary for all of us, parliamentarians, public authorities, families, young men, communities, third sector organisations to consider these matters and respond to them.
Pauline McNeill.
The Centre for Social Justice Lost Boys report says, amongst many things, that since the pandemic alone, the number of young men aged 16 to 24 who are not in education, employment or training has increased by 40%, and that's compared to 7% of young women. But it also points out that young men's behaviour is increasingly being shaped by violent and degrading pornography. So boys are crying out for role models, a void being filled by the likes of Andrew Tate, we've discussed many times. So I ask the Minister, given how topical the issue of male role models is currently across the UK, whether it will adjust the good work that it's already doing to incorporate the need to address what is becoming a crisis of boys and young men.
Minister.
Thank you. Our Equally Safe delivery plan contains a range of actions to build a robust and joined-up approach to the prevention of violence against women and girls across all education settings in Scotland. And the report covers a wide range of issues, but I can bring to the members' attention that some of the range of actions in school to address that gender-based violence and sexual harassment include the Mentors in Violence Prevention Scotland programme, Equally Safe in School and Gender-Based Violence in Schools framework. These complement the key messages for young people on healthy relationships and consent, and Time for Inclusive Education's Digital Discourse Initiative, which provides training for teachers and educators to address the effects of online hate and disinformation on children and young people.
Issue number 7, Gordon MacDonald.
To ask the Scottish Government what impact recent recruitment initiatives have had on staffing levels across NHS Scotland.
Cabinet Secretary Neil Gray.
Officer, while health boards are responsible for the recruitment of individual staff, the Scottish Government provides strategic leadership to ensure a sustainable NHS workforce through policy initiatives, including investment in international recruitment, establishment of a national centre for workforce supply and record investment in pay. Staffing levels are now at their highest ever level, strengthening services and improving patient care.
Gordon MacDonald.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer. Since September 2006, NHS Scotland's staffing levels have expanded by approximately 27%. This represents an additional 35,000 staff in whole-term equivalent terms. How has the improved staffing levels assisted with tackling waiting lists, especially the backlog caused by COVID?
Cabinet Secretary.
Gordon MacDonald is absolutely right. Since 2006, NHS staff numbers have grown by 35,000 whole-time equivalents. This government has acted to reduce post-COVID waiting lists, investing £135.5 million this year in initiatives like additional recruitment. And as a result, thanks to the efforts of those staff and government's targeted investment, long waits have fallen for 6 consecutive months, with year-on-year increases in activity. I'm very grateful to those staff for their efforts in helping to turn a corner on our NHS.
Thank you. That concludes general questions.